It's the Craggy Rugby Podcast. It's the midweek edition prior to the away trip to Thomond Park in Munster. On the Zoom call tonight, we've got Linley MacKenzie.
Evening.
And Niall Packie Sheil. And I'll put the Packie bit in there because I'll invariably call you Packie at some stage during it, Niall. So
my own wife calls me Packie, so yeah, that's fine. That's fine, Alan.
Fair enough. Okay, let's do our normal bit and we'll go straight into the audio today. At the press conference, we had Tiernan O'Halloran and Jimmy Duffy. So here's some of the highlights.
Odd game on Friday night and a real sort of steal at the end. What's the overall view of that, or what have you taken out of it?
Yeah, I suppose when you look at it from the outside, it definitely looked like a bit of a smash and grab job. I think, on the field, it was a frustrating game at times to play because obviously the first half, in the past few years is probably the team that we played against that have played with so much depth. So obviously our policy is trying to, get off the line and get line speed. But when teams are playing with that much depth, it's quite hard to keep that going and get up because you're liable to kick or passes over the top and things like that. So we had to make a slight adjustment at that at half time, and it probably caught us a bit on the hop in the first half because, we had obviously done our analysis on Treviso and we hadn't seen that. So we needed an adjustment at half time, and I felt like we dealt with it a lot better in the second half. And then obviously in the second half, it felt like just a kick battle for 25 minutes, and it was tough to get into the game. And obviously, we got that try just after half time. We felt like we were in a good position to kick on from there, but unfortunately it was just that type of game where we were just struggling to build any phase play. But I think that's somewhere where we've grown, where, in the past in those types of games where we struggle for possession, we've got frustrated and we've kind of given away stupid penalties and we've let the other team get a try. Whereas I felt like we were very patient. I know obviously we gave away a penalty towards the end to get them ahead, but I still feel like we didn't panic. We stuck to what we knew we could do. And even though Teresa tried to close the game up relatively early with about 2.5 minutes to go, that's an incredibly tough thing to do these days with referees and how they referee games. So we knew that we were going to get an opportunity off that. And, I think Bundy ended up getting a jackal penalty. So as soon as we kicked for the corner there, the belief was there that we were going to score. So it was great to get away with it. And I think in the past, there are games that we've lost over and over again. So I think it was great to be on the other side of that. And, getting the win in the end was a massive relief. But at the same time, I think it just keeps our momentum going. I think that's 5 in the bounce away from home now as well. So it was a huge important win for us, and it gives us good confidence.
Munster could be another ugly game. This is one where Connacht you're going to have to hit the same levels as Leinster, but you must feel you have a chance going down there.
Absolutely. Obviously it's been a while since we won down in Thomond Park, but again, it's first and second now in Conference B. These are the games that you need to be stepping up in and you need to win. And like you said, the last game here at the Sports Ground around Christmas time, we probably struggled to get into the game a lot, but I think that shows how far we progressed, that we did stick with it. We did, it looked like with 10 mintes to go that we were completely out of the game and we were dead and buried, and then all of a sudden we were pounding their line for the last minute of the game to try and score. So I think that's something that we can take confidence from as well. Like I said, any Interpro game is always a dogfight, and there's always those little key moments, and I feel like in the summer, obviously, we had the yellow cards and the red card that, cost us a bit. And I think they're the things that could swing those games, those moments. So I think it's really important that we're in charge of those moments and we don't, give them an opportunity to get into the game through something silly like a yellow card or something like that, because down to 14 men against the team with quality that Munster have, it's you're in for a tough 10 minutes there in that period. So I think it's about controlling our mindset in those moments and hopefully just winning those key little battles and just taking it step by step throughout the game.
Did that show real resilience by Connacht? Tiernan just said that's the sort of game that in the past Connacht might have actually finished up losing.
I suppose it does. We were quite calm in the box. I suppose we were chatting about it, and even the players in the chat from the group and the message runners were they're very focused. They know what they need to do. Just build an opportunity and get us into that scoring zone, and we knew we'd be able to get across the line. But look, Treviso are a very, very good side. I think it's 8 games this year they've lost by 1 score. So we were under no illusions that we're going to be a very tough challenge, and recent semi-finalists as well. So to answer your question, yes, it is. It does show the resilience within that group, and the progress is being made there. Other for us is just sticking to the plan and being true to the system, and knowing that it'll pay dividends when we get the opportunity.
That's really going to be the key on Friday night is get into the game and get your game plan moving and stick to it. Because the game at Christmas, particularly, Connacht really didn't get a toehold on that game until so late.
Yeah, look, I think for us it's just like winning every moment. I think you're going to have to play for the full 80 minutes as we showed on the weekend, which was good preparation. Obviously Munster are flying it at the minute, so for us it's just about staying in the fight for as long as we need to, and then obviously capitalise on the opportunities when they arise.
Jimmy, I'm just wondering about maul defence, and especially against a team with such a strong maul as Munster. After the 3 tries conceded against the Dragons, there was definitely an improvement in the A game, and there was again a step on from that in the game against Treviso at the weekend. How important do you think maul defence and maul attack is going to be against Munster? And just also getting your interpretations of the fact that the referees seem to have penalised, that we saw in the Ireland-Italy game, that 3 times the maul setup was penalised for being illegal, and just how are you interpreting that?
Yeah, look, I'll probably start with your last one. It is a tactic that I suppose if teams are allowed to get away with it, it is very difficult to stop it. You're just building a massive buffer between the defending side and the attacking side. And in some of our games this year, that's definitely has been the case. So it's very easy to look at the outcome going, oh, you've conceded this or you've scored this. But you have to look at the source, and if the setup and the build is correct for both sides, then you've got an honest attack against an honest defence. It's just the nature of the game. If teams will be able to get away with it, they have been. But on the weekend, it was encouraging to see some of those setups being looked at a little bit closely.
And if you want to hear the full press conference, you can go to our Patreon page at patreon.com/CraggieRugby, where the full press conference audio is available. So we didn't get to hear your opinions at the weekend. Obviously, these trips that we don't get to, but we get to at least record a podcast and watch the game live, thanks to our friends in TG Cahir. Bit of a squeaky bum game there in the end, Packie. It was very, very tight.
Oh yeah. Actually, speaking of TG Cahir, I'd said it to you during the week. I think their app is fantastic. I hadn't realised it. I had downloaded it. I didn't use it that much. It's brilliant. But anyway, back to the game. A really poor performance where they behaved really well to win it. When I was watching the game, I was raging because they were getting caught so narrow. But then I rewatched it, and they behaved really, really well to get the win. That line out at the end, because as we saw during the weekend, I know it's a bugbear of a lot of the coaches and some of the coaches in Connacht that about crossing at the line out and getting in front of the jumper. But I watched it again; they were squeaky clean. So hats off to Jimmy and his gang for getting that right. But outside of that, nothing more to say about the game.
Fair enough. Linley, Bundy came good in the end, managed to force the turnover and get himself dragged over the line, as I think Jimmy said, or someone said in one of the press conferences, that it wasn't that he was pushing the maul over the line, he was getting dragged over the line by the rest of the forwards, but he showed a star quality.
Well, that's what he's there for, isn't he? I mean, look, he was guilty, and then he turned, and it was almost like as a result of that, he sort of almost like said, right, I've got to do something to get this team on the front foot immediately, because otherwise we are going to lose it. And in a way, it's the sign of a good team that they won, but not a great team. And I think the difference is, because a great team would not have put themselves in that position. A great team should have gone over there and wiped the whatever of Benetton and have been put four tries on them or more. They didn't, but it's a sign of a good team that they, with the last play of the game, last 2 plays of the game, they had that quality, they had that confidence, they had the ability to go and score that try and win. And it kind of reminded me a lot of Connacht, a decade or so ago, maybe less than that ago, when they would do all the running, all the play, they would be in front, and then at the last minute, a team would come and squash them. And it kind of reminds me of that. So I think there is that growth there. What I'm astounded about is the number of quality players in that Connacht side against Benetton, and yet the team as a whole just didn't perform. And that's what kind of astounds me, because most of that team will probably be going out against Munster this weekend.
Yeah, we're going to get, 3 lads back from the Ireland squad, but everyone else is, from what I can gather, fit and raring to go, or the same people are injured. There isn't any fresh injuries from the weekend, so it should be a similar team, but they're going to have to up their game somewhat to win in Thomond Park. And I have some horrible stats about that, but we won't talk about Thomond Park just yet. We'll keep that for near the end of the podcast. I do have one point I need to bring up about the game. Tom O'Neill has contacted us on our Patreon site to talk about the fact that we, during the commentary and in our podcast afterwards, we talked about the fact that Paul Boyle made a mistake when catching a ball from a kickoff when he lifted his foot and put it back on the line, which gave the line out to Benetton. But according to Tom, there was a change in the law 18.1, section A, subsection 2, that even if he had his foot still on the line, it would have been a line out to Benetton because he would have been deemed to have brought the ball over the line. What do you reckon, Packie? Are we reading that right, or is Tom right about that?
Well, I don't know. I played rugby with Tom O'Neill, and I don't think he knew anything when he was playing. We're joking, Tom. You're fine second row. Apparently he's right. Yeah. Touch used to always belong to the defender. That was my take on it. So you could run and catch a ball in touch. Just on it, the only thing I was thinking was that Boiler should have gotten a call from somebody to say let it go, because it was going. I think it was going into touch. But anyway, listen. Good man, Tom. I'd say the Connacht branch of the referees. I'd love to hear from him. So I'm assuming he's going to be taking up the whistle.
Fair play. Now you've been told, Tom. You've been told. Okay, let's move on. Let's bring it on. That's good. Some good stuff. Does anyone want to talk about Ireland and the win over in Italy in Six Nations? You don't have to if you don't want to. Great, excellent. That's what I was thinking. That's how much interest us Connacht fans have in, well, a fair majority of us Connacht fans have in the Six Nations these days. So we'll just move on.
The only thing I would say, and I'm not sure you have the stats, but it's been a long time since there hasn't been one Connacht player on an Irish team.
It was before the first round. It was 2014. So that's two out of 3 rounds now, because of course in the second round we had Ulton got on the field. No Connacht players, so not much interest from us really, and certainly not the way they play the game. And I don't think they'd change that much at the weekend to sort of show that they're going to beat England or Scotland, from what I can see. But we'll just have to wait and see. That's for another competition and some other people who have more interest in it than we do. Okay, now the main reason for this podcast this week, because it's an interpro, so we always want to talk a lot more about Munster. So Connacht's record in Thomond Park is 1-1, drawn 1, lost 16, plus the loss we had in the Aviva there in last August, with 1 losing bonus point in all that time. Now, it's actually worse than Ulster, where we've only won 1 game and had no draw and only had 1 losing bonus point. We do quite well against Leinster and Leinster, but this is just not a happy hunting ground. Is it, Linley?
No, it never has been a happy hunter ground for a long time. I think only that one occasion during Pat Lam's era, the year they won the Pro 14, did they secure a victory there. Look, Munster are just a dogged, difficult beast to win anywhere, whether it's at home or away. And you really have to, they can change their game, I find, quite well, from being a really dogged, determined, physical, front mauling side to having the pace and having the kicking abilities. Particularly, they have a great kicking ability. They can chop and change between the two depending on what suit. It was pretty obvious when they came to Connacht that it was their mauling game that they chose. They did very little else but maul. In fact, they actually looked quite pedestrian at times if it wasn't for that maul, but it was enough to secure the victory. So when we go down there to Munster, we don't have the record on our side at all. We're going down there now. They will be missing obviously a handful of internationals, not a huge pile, a handful. I think there's about 3 or 4. I think in this week's squad. I think.
They've got. I think who's been left in the Ireland squad is Murray, Earls, Byrne, Stander, and Kilcoyne. So it's 5 in total. I think Murray's injured, so he probably wouldn't have played anyway.
Right. So they've got a few coming back in there, and I think listening to Jimmy Duffy in the press conference today, I think he's right. Connacht, when you look at Benetton, and they took their chance to win it, and they did it. And I think the point Jimmy Duffy's trying to say is you don't get very many chances against a team like Munster. And when you do, you have to take them. You have to be more clinical. And I think that has been really a theme all year, actually, because, so many chances Connacht have created, but they haven't quite been able to finish them off. And I think that has been a recurring theme. And I think that is something which Connacht does have to, it's a mental thing really more than anything that Connacht have to change. Look, going down to Munster, if we came out there with a losing bonus point, I think a lot of people would be happy. But there's a difference. There's a difference going down there. They have to win this match. It is a must win if they have any way of catching Munster. It's still highly unlikely that they would catch them with the games that have left to play. But if they want to keep their foot in the door still, they have to win. And I'm sure after last weekend's performance, there is going to be a response. I'm absolutely positive of it. And I think it's going to be actually, I think it's going to actually be a cracking game. I think it's going to be a really cracking game. And I think there's a lot of Connacht players who have a lot to prove as well. And a lot of those players are players who shouldn't possibly be up in Dublin or, playing for Ireland over the Six Nations. And so you're going to be pitting some of those internationals in Munster against Connacht's hopefuls. And let's see what happens. I think it's going to be a cracking game.
Yeah. And is it going to be tight, Niall? Because looking at it, I go back, I think if we average losing by 20 odd points there, and then Rob would say to me, oh no, but I'm only interested in the recent past. Well, in the recent past, we lose by an average of 25 points. So it's actually getting worse rather than better.
You need to go back.
But do you reckon it's going to be more or less we're going to be practically at full strength apart from injuries. And as I say, they're missing 5 players in the Ireland squad, but they've such a big squad that it shouldn't be a huge impact.
Yeah, no, in fairness, it shouldn't. The only thing is, I'm saying this just by thinking it, I haven't looked at how much their guys have played, but our internationals have played for us. I'm not sure that theirs have played for them. So I'm just wondering, have they been out of action for a little while? Do you know what I mean? As in, have they played that much over the last while? They could be...
Yeah, I know, the likes of Andrew Conway's only played 4 games so far for them this year in total.
Yeah, and I have Chris Farrell in my head for some reason that he didn't play for them in their last game, was it, or second to last game? That it was Bundy that was released from the Irish squad. I have that now. That may or may not be fully right, but so maybe we have the benefit of a bit of match play that they don't, and. No, I actually do. I think it'll be tight enough. I do, but obviously the performance has to be up to them. But they kind of have that in their locker to up a performance that way. And they've more to play for because Munster can lose this and still win the conference, whereas Connacht have to win. This is a must-win game, as the last 3 games have been, and they've stood up and won them all in various different ways. So this really is a chance for Connacht to sort of go for it. Yeah, there was a bit of talk during the week, about Champions Cup rugby secured and all that, and I wouldn't. Well, I'm sure it's not, but you wouldn't want that to be the goal. I mean, there's seeding here as well, for Europe. So let's sort that out. Let's at the very least, I think let's be second in the conference. I think that's there for Connacht, and obviously go for it. But Munster do have that, maybe that do have that cushion, so maybe they'll relax a little bit. I'm not sure that they will. It's an Interpro. It never really happens. But what I'm really interested to see is how it works out because with the Eagles game the following day. So.
Yes, of course. There's another Eagles game. This will be the 3rd time this season that Connacht will have played or is it the fourth time? It's actually the fourth time this season that Connacht will have played against Munster at Eagles level, because there was one, the pre-season game as well, wasn't there? It was home and away, and then they've played in the sports ground. Is there the third time playing in the sports ground against the Eagles on Saturday? A bit of luck, might get out and see that if we're lucky.
I think what you might see is a real Eagles team.
Mm-hmm.
More of an Eagles team. Traditionally they have been used maybe to get a few senior players fit if they've come off injuries, and that can still be the case. But given the fact that you're going to have 23 players down in Munster the day before, it could be more of an Eagles side that takes to the field, I think.
Well, that's it. You'll probably have a 24th man, or 24th, 25th man that can come back up and play because it's only down the road. So that will be interesting to see what way that comes. I just hope the rest of us can see it. Surely the branch know now at this stage the appetite that was there for not just Connacht fans but Munster fans and your rugby anorak that lives in Ireland to watch the game. A lot of people left their season ticket money with Connacht in good faith this year, and I think it would be nice of them, and just listen, it would be the right thing to do to stream that game. I think there are loads of us here, there, and everywhere who'd love to see that. I hope they see sense. They didn't do it the last time, but I hope they see sense and do it this time.
With a bit of luck, they will, because as you say, there's plenty of us anoraks around who want to get to see as much of the game as possible, and hopefully we will get it out there and get it recorded, because looking at the weather forecast for Friday anyway, it's looking really good. They're talking about it's going to be about 5-6 degrees with a 20 kilometre an hour breeze, so that's almost perfect. Rugby and Thomond hasn't been used that much, so it should be a perfect pitch, so it should be absolutely bang on for us. For Saturday, it looks a little bit wetter with 70% chance of rain, but let's not worry about that. At this time of year, it's nice to get some half decent weather. So, What do you reckon? We're going to get a losing bonus point? Are we going to get hammered? Are we going to sneak a win?
All three are on the table, aren't they? No, seriously, I think there's a team good enough to win there, but you can't really say that with any certainty because we generally don't beat them.
Yeah.
We have to say that. No matter what team they have and no matter what team we have, we generally don't beat them. And
Linley, we've never been into a game in Thomond Park having won 5 in a row prior to that.
Yeah, it's a good away record, isn't it? But I don't really think that's going to. I don't really think that's going to have any effect, unfortunately, on the game itself. I would despair if they lose by a lot. I have to say. I think it's all about the growth of this team and their ability to produce a quality game. These are quality players. You're going to have 9 or 10 of them who played last weekend who are quality players against Benetton and performed poorly. And there's got to be a reaction. You've got players like Packie who has been taken out of, is returned from the Ireland squad. Once upon a time last year and a year before, that was unthinkable that would happen to Bundy. There's a lot of players there with a lot of reason to prove something. And, I think it's time that this team stood up and they did it. Now, I know we have in the past, and I'm not suggesting or giving out about them, but I'm just saying from last weekend's performance, really, there has to be a response. And there are the players there who can do it. These are players. Well, look, most of the players on this Connacht team are players who want to play for Ireland or who have played for Ireland, who are knocking on the door of Ireland. And they have to prove to themselves that they are able to do it if they play like a team. They are a team. And I suppose that is the crucial thing. But you are going to need your leaders. You are going to need the strength of Packie. You're going to need his inspiration. Although, as we know now, that there are other players who are also, not taking over from him, but are also stepping up to the mark. And that's why I'm actually quite excited about this match, because I actually do expect a response from last weekend. And I'm really actually looking forward to actually how they do play against Munster.
It'll be really interesting, Linley, to see how they react to the previous performance. That'll tell a lot about the team. I'd wondered on selection the last time. I know Tom Daly played at 13, and I'm just wondering, and I know he played at 13 the game before that as well, but I'm just wondering, would Connacht be better suited to have Bundy at 13 and Tom Daly at 12? just that was just something that struck me as I was watching the match the last day. I think Bundy would possibly manage that outside channel a little bit better than Tom Daly. But here, these could be orders from Ireland you wouldn't know.
Well, exactly. And then you also have Jack Carty, who we assume will be coming back in and get picked instead of Connor, who hadn't had enough game time, but I'm assuming he'll get to play for the Eagles the next day. And that would see Jack Carty starting the game because he's been on fire recently. Oh,
yeah, absolutely. Fantastically well. So, there's no better player than him to take a team around the place. Connacht have spoken this year about playing the game in the right areas, and Jack's kicking game is central to that. So, listen, there are a lot of I'd call them selection dilemmas there for the coaches. We'll see how they react to that. With the likes of Della and Dave Heff as well. You've the battle at 9 between Blady and Kieran Marmion. The team doesn't really pick itself at the minute, which is kind of funny. That's how I see it. There are lots of options there, even despite the injury list. So, I would be really interested to see what's going to happen on that score as well. Yeah.
One can only assume, given the press conference today, that Tiernan O'Halloran was the player who was up for the press conference, that it's possible that he would be taking that 15 shirt. I'm not sure, but I'm not sure how is John Porch injured. He's not mentioned as injured, but he has played. He has played a lot of rugby this season.
Yeah, he's actually played too much rugby. He's played in every single game, which is an awful lot to ask. And you wouldn't want someone to get injured. You wouldn't want someone to get in because wear and tear will eventually come on, on top of that. And, you've got the likes of Matt Healy there, who hasn't played a huge amount and played really well the last time we started. So, there is a bit of cover there as well. And Tiernan did okay at the weekend, and certainly in the A game, the last time we'd seen him when he came back from his injury, he was excellent and very vocal. And I think he enjoys playing down in Munster, and he scored that try. I think he scored the first try in that victory back in 2015. So could be just one of those places that he likes to play.
Well, I also think someone like Tiernan, as you say, who's experienced down in Munster, and some of those experienced players who have been around all the losing matches down in Munster can take a leadership role. And I think Tiernan is one of those leaders on the field. He
most certainly is, yeah. Just looking to see who scored tries down there. The likes of Finley has scored a try down there. Like he scored a try the last time. He scored a try the last week as well. Like he seems to like scoring away from home. Actually, looking at it, in the last 4 years, the last person to score, the only two people still playing that have scored a try apart from Finley in Thomond since 2015 are Tiernan and Bundy. Everyone else has either moved on or left us. The likes of Kelleher, Daway, McKeown, all those guys have left us. Oh no, sorry, apologies. Johnny Murphy. No, that wasn't in Thomond Park. That was in Diaviva, so that doesn't count. So
okay.
So
strict criteria there, Alan.
Oh, very strict, very strict. As if when these days of no crowds it makes any difference. But anyway, it is, there is that fact that it was in the Aviva Stadium and we did have the double yellow or the double red card type thing. So it'll be fascinating to see who the referee will be if that hasn't already been announced. This is Tuesday evening. They don't normally announce them until Wednesday. So
okay.
we just have to wait.
That will be very interesting.
Mm-hmm. It most certainly will. Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. Okay, guys, that's brilliant. That's great stuff. I think we'll leave it there and we'll finish the podcast as usual with William telling us what the results were from last weekend and what the fixtures are for this weekend and how they all affect the table.
Results from the last round of Pro 14 games. On Friday, the 26th of February, Benetton 17, Connacht 19, Cardiff Blues 11, Munster 20, Ulster 21, Ospreys 7. Saturday the 27th of February, Edinburgh 25, Scarlets 27, Zebre 26, Dragons 15. And on Sunday the 28th of February, Leinster 40, Glasgow Warriors 21. Now let's have a look, before we do the fixtures, at the current tables. Conference A is two teams battling for the top. Leinster played 13, won 12, lost 1. 12 bonus points, 60 points. Ulster played 13, won 12, lost 1, 6 bonus points, 54. They meet this weekend. Ospreys are in third place. They've played 13, they've won 7, they've lost 6, they've 3 bonus points, they've 31 points, and they should have enough points now to guarantee themselves Champions Cup rugby. Conference B, Munster on top, played 13, won 11, lost 2, 50 points, they've 6 bonus points. Connacht are in second, played 13, won 8, lost 5, 9 bonus points, 41 points. They play next weekend. The Scarlets are in third. They have 14 games played. They're 7-7 with 6 bonus points, 34 points. And Cardiff Blues have played 14, won 6, lost 8, 2 bonus points on 26 points. Edinburgh, who are in fifth place, have 12 games played. They've won 4, they've lost 8, 4 bonus points. They've only got 20 points, but they do have a couple of games in hand on some of the teams just ahead of them. And then at the bottom, Benetton played 12, won none, lost 12, 6 bonus points, which gives them their 6 points. And now the fixtures for next weekend. Friday, March the 5th, Munster versus Connacht, 7:35 p.m. kickoff. Saturday, the 6th of March, Zebre versus Glasgow Warriors, 2 p.m. Ospreys versus the Dragons, 7:35 p.m. and Ulster versus Leinster, also at 7:35 p.m. And finally, Sunday, 7th of March, Edinburgh versus Benetton at 3:15 p.m.
Loose, cut it loose. Break out or nothing changes. Side